I just want to make a short video of what our next section, our next chapter, which is chapter 5, is going to be a little bit about. The first thing the entire chapter is about is rational numbers. And a rational number is one that can be expressed as a quotient, which means division, of integers. So an example would be 1.5, which can be written as 3/2. And as we get further into it, you're going to see that a rational expression is one that can be expressed as a quotient of polynomials. An example would be 4xy squared over 7, or a trinomial over a binomial, or trinomial over a trinomial, or binomial over binomial. Okay, so our entire chapter 5 is really about rational numbers and simplifying rational expressions. The first chapter we're just going to simplify. The second section we're going to multiply and divide them. And the third section we're going to add and subtract them. So that's what this entire chapter is basically about. So when I'm talking about a radical expression being simplified, it's when the quotient of polynomials' greatest common factor is 1. Understand that's wordy. So what am I talking about? This expression, this rational expression, meaning a fraction, has a lot of GCFs in it. So if we just take it apart one by one by factoring out the GCF, if I look at this top thing, what is the GCF of x squared and 2x? X. Leaving me with x minus 2. Remember, we just factored. We just got good at pulling out a GCF. At the bottom, there is no GCF, but there's an x squared. And if there's an x squared, it should be factorable. And because this is a perfect square binomial, it can be factored. And we know that it's going to be an x plus something, and it's going to be an x minus, since this is a minus sign. If that was a plus sign, it can't be factored. What are factors of 4 that get me 0, 2, and 2? Since this is a fraction, we can cancel out anything that's the same on the top with anything that's the same on the bottom. You can only factor out 1 for 1. So if there was another, if these were both x minus 2, I can still only cancel 1 for 1. So my answer here is x over x plus 2. Now that common factor among that entire rational expression is a 1. Let's look at another example. All right, so all I'm doing when I come to any rational expression is factoring the top and factoring the bottom. I can't factor the bottom here. X plus 3 is already factored. There's no x squared. But I can factor the top. Given that it's a binomial with a minus sign, so x minus, factors of 9 that get me 0, because the middle term's missing, is 3 and 3. If there's an x plus 3, which is a group, and an x plus 3, which is a group here, they can be left. Now, it's x minus 3. It's technically over a 1, but you don't need that. The next problem is simply a trinomial that needs to be factored on the top and one that's factored on the bottom. This is a lot easier to factor than this, since this a is not 1. So this top one I know factors to x plus and x minus. The bottom I'm going to have to multiply and get a 6 and then come up with my factors. So let's do the top first. Factors of 12 that get me a 1. So 4 and 3 are my factors. I know it has to be negative, so the 4 has to go here and the 3 has to go here. 4 and 3. To factor the bottom, we have to do a little bit of work. I multiplied these together. I get 1 and 6, 3 and 2. Of course, it's a 5, so I need to be careful because these both come out to 5. It's a minus sign, so they need to subtract to 5. Those don't subtract to 5, so it's this. So it's 2x squared. It's going to be 6x minus 1x minus 3. Factoring's not going away. So I factor GCF 2x, x plus 3. Whatever I get there, I get here. I get a minus 1 as the GCF. So my one factor is 2x minus 1, and my second factor is x plus 3. Now, that's what I have left. So all I need to do is cancel anything that's the same, which this is this. So x minus 4 over 2x minus 1. That's my final answer, rewritten as a fraction and left like that. And all we're going to do is try the next one, and then we're done. We're not going to go on anymore from that. Okay, so why don't you, I guess we can do this one and the next one. So if I factor this, x, what's left? X times x gets me x squared. X times a 1 gets me an x. X minus 1 on the bottom. Whatever I have on the top, this group goes with that group, leaving me an x. X. Okay. This bottom one, I just want you to realize this x is not in a group, but the x minus 2 is in a group. So I can only cancel the x minus 2 out with another x minus 2. But since this x and this x are not part of any group, and there's one on top and one on the bottom, it's done. But x minus 2 and x plus 2 have to be left in my answer. I can't do anything. They're not the same. One group has a minus 2, one group has a plus 2. All right, if you try this one on your own, the bottom, as you can see, that's simply a monomial. There's nothing I can do. I can't factor it. There's nothing I can do. But what I can do is factor GCF out of the top. So go ahead and try it. The GCF between an 8 and a 6 is a 2x, because it's there. 2 times what numbers? 8, or 8 divided by 2 gives me a 4x. And 2 times a 3 is going to give me a 6x. This 4x minus 3 is in a group. It can't be canceled unless there's another 4x minus 3. But this 2 and this 4 and this x squared are all by themselves. So I can cancel this 2 and this 4 because it leaves a 2 here. 4 divided by 2 that way, or 2/4 simplifies to 1/2. And this x squared, it's who has more friends. This x on the bottom has more friends. So that cancels them out, but it leaves the 4x minus 3 on top. And this last one that we look at, it looks like it's going to be confusing, but the top's going to start with an x squared minus y squared. Sorry, x squared minus y squared. And this whole x plus y is going to go to the bottom because of the it's not happy. So the entire thing, which is in parentheses, goes to the bottom. So if you want to keep it in a parenthesis, that helps, do it. So now when I look at the top, this was x squared. And this is y squared, which means if they're squared, it probably has to be factored. This is a minus sign, so I know it's x plus something. I know it's x minus something, and it's factors of y, so it's y and y. So we haven't done one like this, but it's okay. And then, since this group and this group are the same, my only answer is x minus y. We're going to practice these for sure, but I want you to realize this is simply just factoring top, factoring bottom, seeing what can cancel, therefore leaving me with the greatest common factor of 1. Okay? Thanks.